Let's talk about common error messages that you might find in Excel. Whenever you're writing out formulas in Excel, you'll probably come upon one of these error messages eventually. So here's what they mean. I've ordered them from the most common to the least common that you see in Excel. In all the years I've been using Excel, I think I've probably seen up to about here. I can't remember seeing a num or a null error in my time. It depends a lot on what formulas you're using and what functions you're using in Excel, what messages you're going to see. But from my experience, these here are the most common error messages that you get. And what they mean is the following. When you get this error, the reference error, that means that you either deleted a cell that was referenced in a formula or that you made a formula that is referenced out of bounds. What do I mean by out of bounds? It means that the formula is referencing a cell to the left of column A, which doesn't exist, or to the right of column ZF whatever, which is the last column in Excel, or a row which is on top of row 1, which also doesn't exist. That's how you get a reference error. Let me demonstrate. For example, if I say equals A1, I get a value of 0. And if I put a 1 here, of course I get a value of 1 right there. What happens if I copy this formula over into the next cell to the left? When I do that, remember that Excel automatically shifts the column 1 to the left. But there's no such thing as a column that's 1 to the left from A. So I'm going to get an error message, which is the ref error message. Watch this. See, there's the ref error message. And of course, if I step into the formula, I get equals ref because there's no way to represent anything to the left of this column. So that's one possibility for the ref error. Another possibility, if I do equals K1, that's a formula which is working normally. But let's say I come here and I delete this column. And since the column no longer exists, Excel doesn't know what to do. Excel normally doesn't assume that you automatically want it to redirect to the new column K5. It just gives you a ref error if you delete one of the reference columns. So that's a reference error. Now, div 0 we saw in a previous tutorial. It means that you tried to divide something by 0, which is mathematically impossible. Even Excel can't divide by 0. So if you get this message, it means that somewhere on the worksheet you're dividing something by 0. Okay, the third error message, this one that says value, usually means that you put an argument for a function in the wrong position. What it really means is that Excel was expecting a certain argument and it got a completely different one. That's what this value error means. But normally what causes it is that you put an argument for a function in the wrong position. For example, if you have to place a data range and then a value, a Boolean value, and you invert them and you put the Boolean value where the data range is supposed to go and the data range where the Boolean value is supposed to go, well, you're going to get a value error. So that's this third message. This fourth message, name, what it means is that you usually misspell the formula or a variable name. Typically, when Excel comes upon a word inside a formula, it looks to see if it matches a function name. If it doesn't match the function name, it sees if there's a variable. We'll talk a little bit about variables later on. But it sees if there's a variable with that name, and if there's no variable and no function with that name, it simply returns the name error. That's usually caused by misspelling formulas or variable names. For example, if I was going to use the average function, but I forgot the E at the end, and I did this, I'm going to get the name error. Why? Because Excel can't find a function which is called average without an E. As soon as I replace the E, there I get my average function. So that's the name error. This next error, which is the not available error, usually means that you tried to search for something inside a function and Excel couldn't find anything that matched it. You're probably not going to see this error unless you start using the lookup functions, which is VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP. Those are really useful functions. We'll look into them later. But normally when you use them and they can't find the value that you're looking for, you get this error, NA, which means not available. And then these two last errors, which are far less common. The num error means that you're using the wrong numerical type. The function requires, for example, an integer value, and you're giving it a decimal value. That's usually what causes this kind of error. Or, for example, you're working with a function that requires only 3 decimals, and you feed the function a huge decimal number, which it can't understand. So that's this error. And then the null error, it's got some mathematical meanings. The null error is caused by intersection error between ranges. We're not going to go into intersections, which is kind of a complicated topic here. But just know that this error is usually caused because you replaced a colon in a range with a space. See, normally when you reference a range, you have to put the first cell, a colon, and then the second cell. But a lot of people forget and they write a space instead of the colon. And that is interpreted by Excel as an intersection, and the result is it can't find the intersection and it reports null. So that's what this error is caused by. You see, if you get this error message and you're not doing anything requiring mathematical intersections, look for somewhere where you forgot a colon. That's usually the problem that you have. For example, I'm going to set up a sum function with these cells up here. That's a cell range. And as you can see, it's separated by a colon. And of course, the result is 0. But if I happen to forget the colon and just type a space, watch what happens. I get null. That's the null error. And as I said before, what happens is I forgot to add a colon here at the center. Okay, those are the most common error messages that you're bound to find when you're working formulas in Excel. So whenever you get one of these, check what it says here on the list, and you'll see it's not so hard to take care of errors that come upon in Excel when you're writing formulas. Thanks for watching this video tutorial. If you liked the video, be sure to subscribe to our channel and to visit our website, cubicleoverlords.com, for more instructional videos like this one.